Welcome to another episode of the CarryTrainer Higher Line podcast. Welcome to another episode of the CarryTrainer Higher Line podcast. We have a fantastic guest today, John Hackleman. Am I pronouncing that right, John?
Fantastic, yes.
All right. I like to get people's names right because everybody butchers mine. John is the owner and founder of The Pit. You're in Southern California.
Central Coast.
Central Coast. Damn it. All right. I already Central Coast. And I swore right out of the gate. That's all right. So people that don't know who you are would probably know some of the fighters that you've trained. You're a lifelong martial artist or one of the early coaches of some of the big UFC names like Chuck Liddell and some others, right? And now you run the school out there. And I believe you guys have some affiliate schools across the country. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're not really that into our affiliate program, but there are a couple. There's a couple in Arizona, Indiana, England, Vegas, Malibu. I mean, there's a couple, but my main thing is martial arts in the community. I got some online stuff going. I do some courses online, but my main thing is just martial arts and fitness for kids and adults. And then I do some MMA training on the side. Like I got a couple of people fighting tonight. I did train Chuck Liddell, Glover Teixeira, McGee. I started Tim Kennedy, who is the toughest man alive.
Yeah, that's your personal opinion of Tim, huh?
I think he's the toughest guy alive. Yeah.
Interesting.
Not just fighting.
One of the gentlemen that works with me, Aaron Cooper, Aaron and Tim both worked together at the same time for the Army for the combatives program. I think I told you a little bit about Aaron. So that's many years ago, but he had a similar viewpoint of Tim.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we have a lot of good history. We started in '85 in my backyard in Woodland Hills, California. I was also working as a registered nurse at the time in the night shift. But I just wanted a place to train, so had a little gym built in my backyard. And next thing I know, there was like a lot of people wanting to train there. And then I moved up here to Central Coast, beautiful. We're right near Pismo Beach. It's called Arroyo Grande.
Okay.
And first thing I did when I bought this place was build a little building in the back. Well, it's 3 acres, so it's a pretty big backyard. And I just started training myself. And then next thing you know, I had a whole tribe of people. I use tribe because cult is negative. I've been called, and I have been called that. Believe me.
A cult leader?
Yeah, because we have the tattoo. Everybody gets the pit tattoo, and
I wouldn't. Even if I train with you, I wouldn't tattoo your little cult tattoo on me. Everybody gets it. Do they have to? Next thing, are you going to be branding?
No.
You're going to be holding them down with like a metal brand, sticking it on their ass.
I actually have a brand as well. Nobody has to get the tattoo or the brand.
Has anybody branded themselves?
No, nobody. And
that's crazy.
I actually strongly advise against it only because of the chance of infection. Being an RN, I don't think it's healthy. But we live out in the boonies, and there's a lot of cattle people and ranchers and stuff. And one of my students, I guess, happened to be a rancher. I don't even remember when I got it, but years ago, somebody brought me a brand, and I was like, "Oh, this is cool." So I have it at the gym, but nobody's ever used it. For some people do, and I've been all over where people I don't even know come up to me at different fights and go, "Hey, I got your tattoo," and they show me the tattoo, and so it's kind of cool. Like I'll go to Utah where there's a pit, and the guy will promote a fight, and there'll be pit signs all over, and guys will be fighting and representing the pit, and it's kind of cool thinking back.
That's super
80,
cool.
Yeah, I don't mind it at all.
So, like, is there any posers out there that just like the tattoo or want to be recognized as a pit member that have got it but don't actually train with you guys?
Yeah. I know of cases because I'll have like people I know like shoot me a text or something. Hey, check out this guy's Facebook page, and I'll check it out. And he's not a real pit guy, and he's using the pit and stuff. But
That's funny.
It used to bother me, and I think, oh, I'm gonna get a lawyer. I'm a trademark and yada yada yada. But it doesn't really to me. This isn't to me. It's kind of I don't know. I get like it's a compliment, So I'm fine with it, and I'm just trying to train people. And if people want to be posers, they're going to be posers, whether it's the pit, tap out, throw down, whatever. There's always going to be wannabes, right?
Sure. And imitation is a form of flattery too, so that's a good thing. It means you're doing something right if they want to copy it.
I'm very flattered.
So you started training in your backyard in 85. So what's that, like 36 years ago, 37 years ago, something like that?
Yeah.
34 years ago. My math is fantastic. This is what I wanted to chat about with you, because you've done both. You and I chatted about this on the phone. The difference between training for the street and training for the ring or the octagon or a match setting. And do techniques become different? Is it a mindset difference? So we have a lot of folks, just to predicate my question, I have a lot of folks, because we train firearms, that say, oh, that thing you're doing on the range wouldn't work in real life. And of course, certain things like hitting a speed bag. Nobody's going to walk into a ring and start beating a boxer's face like they're hitting a speed bag. So I think sometimes people don't separate or differentiate certain training protocols or programs from like application. So broad question: street versus the sports side of things.
Well, I'll bring it to your world, and this is exactly the same as the speed bag comparison. When you go out shooting in a range, do you actually shoot at a real human being that's actually moving and pulling a gun on you, or do you shoot at a target that actually cannot shoot you back and will not shoot you back? Right? I mean, so you shoot a paper target, a metal target, things that are made, of different materials. But number one, they never shoot back real bullets, because there are some simulations that have like simulated stuff, but nobody shoots back real bullets, and you're not shooting a real person. I mean, if you want to be realistic, right, just like they say in training, you should be realistic and spar hard and do all this and that. Well, I mean, the knife guys, when they train with their knives, they should use real knives, real sharp knives, and practice with them, or else it's just phony training, right? And it's the same as not really sparring hard, and then you could tell the gun guys, well, then train with real bullets and shoot each other. Nobody does that, and you don't have to become proficient. I mean, so like hitting a speed bag is, it's one form of training. I don't really believe in it that much, but it is fun. But training is you try to configure the training and develop training that's as realistic as you can make it, without being realistic. Because if we trained really hard and realistically, we'd always be injured or maimed or maybe even dead. I mean, so we might train. You might get a reputation of training realistically, but you guys, you'd have half the people every time you go out to the range. Half the people would come back, and half the people would be dead. So it's like it makes absolutely no sense.
And nobody ever takes me up on it. Put an ad up looking for people to get shot for training, and nobody's ever.
It's go figure. And my training used to be known as full contact training, no rules. People would come in my gym when it was in my backyard, and I wasn't making money at it and trying to make a living and trying to empower a lot of people. I just wanted the toughest guys around. That's how I met Chuck Liddell. And back then it was like, what are the rules for sparring? I would say the only rule is hit as hard as you want to be hit, because you will, and nothing else. Well, what about punching the face? I go, yeah, hit the face all day long. What about takedowns? Take down all day long if you can. So I did draw the line at 2 really effective techniques, just because biting and eye gouging. So I drew my line there, but you could still pretty much do whatever you wanted in sparring. That was great for a little while. It got us a really tough reputation. I got some really tough guys, but you're not gonna have a successful school, number one. And number two, it's just not smart. I mean, you're not gonna train the best street fighters or cage fighters, because your cage fighters will always be pulling out of their fights because they'll always be injured, whether that's concussions or they always have a knee problem. They'll always be pulling out of their fights because you can't train like that. And as our regular student base, we'd have like 4 students maybe, and that would be it. Because nobody wants.
You probably get sued all the time, and
I've never been sued. Can you believe that? That's true. My waiver is very extensive, and it includes very graphic language. But since '85, there's been so many cuts, broken jaws, punctured lungs, broken ribs, and I've never once, thank God and knock on wood, I've never once been sued. It's really bizarre to me because I've never been sued, and we've been beat. Now we don't even spar anymore, really, barely. I do 1 sparring day, but the waiver is very extensive. But our regular class, I just don't feel a need to do it anymore. To me, it's like I can train people and teach people, and I've tested it on my fighters, and they do just as well in the cage as they do full camp of full-on sparring or a full camp with no sparring and just drilling and techniques and stuff. I don't see any difference in my we still have a 90+% win percentage. So I think it's working pretty well.
I used to train at a gym. Whenever some of the guys would have a fight, all the other guys would come in and become dummies, sparring partners for these dudes. And I remember one evening sitting, just watching, I think I saw 2, maybe 3 dudes get their noses folded over and busted in like a 20-minute time span, just helping this young guy get ready for an amateur fight. And it was like, man, that seems so stupid. And at the time, we were all in our early 20s, so it was like somewhat macho. I remember a friend of mine, he's now a black belt jiu-jitsu guy. He turns over and his nose is folded straight over, and he's like, "Is it bad?" No, dude, you're okay. You're okay. And it's just idiotic. One of my training mantras, be it guns in the weight room or any type of martial training, I'm training with these things to make my body better, to protect myself, so I don't want to trash myself in the process of the training. Like, I don't want to, my friends that are big muscle guys, I rip the bicep.
Is that your mantra? Is that your mantra?
Say again, please.
That's a long mantra.
Oh, that was a long mantra.
Wait. So you actually did, so when a mantra, that means you say it over and over. Let me hear you say it 3 times in a row.
This was the mantra. Don't yourself up in training if the purpose is to protect yourself. That was the point of it. Thanks for busting my butt.
That's a good one, and I wish more people would believe in that, because they don't, and they're like, they have these. We're one of the toughest gyms around, and in the world. I mean, Joe Rogan talks about us. I mean, how many mom and pop karate schools in Arroyo Grande, California, can say that Joe Rogan mentions them on a pay-per-view podcast or a pay-per-view show. But with that said, I know, because nobody's going to call my gym wimpy, I know how important it is not to do that kind of crazy training anymore. And I wish I knew that when I started, because I would have saved myself probably about 8,000 concussions and I don't know how many nose breakings. And it would have made my life a lot more pleasant, a lot more fun. I didn't always have to try to prove myself every time I went to the gym and sparred. We'd go to different gyms and spar, and it was always a macho prove yourself thing. And we'd go down to South Central and train. We'd go down to Watts and train. We'd go down to different gyms from our gym in the Valley. When I was in Hawaii, everything was like trying to knock you out. And it was like, when I look back at it, I just think, how do I even remember my name? I don't remember your mantra, but I'm surprised. I'm surprised. So my memory isn't that good. But how do I even remember my name? Because it's stupid to train like that. I thank God every day that I can even remember my name after all the shit I've been through. But it's just bad training. Just like you guys don't train with real bullets on each other, we as martial artists, unarmed martial artists, should not try to concuss our training partners. It's stupid because, I mean, we're just gambling with a subdural hematoma. You know, I mean, forget a broken jaw and a broken nose. That's nothing. But we're gambling with subdural hematomas, brain injuries, chronic brain injuries, you know, bleeds, and it just makes no sense. It's like we're playing Russian roulette, and I'm saying stop the madness. There's my mantra: stop the madness.
Stop the madness is a good one. We always ask students, what do you want? Like, what is the point? Why are you here? Why are you paying us to train? And I think some people, your side of the house, my side of the house, I think a lot of people do it for the macho reasons. Like, you would have never gotten your nose broke 8 times if your goal was to protect your body. Like, that wouldn't have happened. You were doing it, I'm not being insulting, but you enjoyed who's the better fighter, right? I want to see how much I got. I want to see if I can best this guy or that guy. And I think too often we lie to ourselves. I had to take a bunch of time off of training about 15 years ago after an internal bleed happened, and the guy that ran the gym I was at got mad at me because I, at the time, couldn't pay the gym bill because I just had paid a $30,000 surgery bill. And I'm like, dude, I was $50 a month or something. I called him. I'm like, hey, I can't come back for a while. Like, 1, I can't afford it, and 2, I'm full of freaking staples. And he's like, you're a pussy. I'm like, like, I got a 2-year-old baby. My then wife was pregnant with a new one. I'm a kid, just bought a house. Like, how is that stupid? Like, I'm trying to do this as fitness to protect myself, but to those guys, it was about are you tough enough to fight through abdominal staples? No, I'm not, because that's dumb. And so I'm a big fan of figuring out the goal, which to me is I want to be able to protect my family, my own physical health, and not put myself in jeopardy. Like you said, brain bleeds. I was at a funeral once for a friend of my father's that got hit 1 time in the head and was dead. Some guy whacked him in a bar, and that was the end of it. Some brain bleed developed, and he died 2 days later.
Yeah,
I don't think a lot of people get that.
They don't, and I like I said, there's two things I could go with that. Number one, yeah, the training is dumb. I thank God every day because I probably trained from 14 years old to 34 years old, maybe even closer to 40, close to 5 days a week, punching each other in the head and thinking that's the only way to train. And I just look at how did I survive that? I've had, it boggles my mind. I think of my old Golden Glove days, my old boxing days in the Army. I was on the all-Army boxing team. Very elite team.
Army, John. Let's talk about that. I didn't know you were in the Army. How long were you in the Army?
It was 3 years. I was just I joined for a very patriotic reason. I wanted to go to Iran and get rid of, free the hostages. So I thought I was boxing, and I was a amateur boxer, and I moved, I was living in LA most of the time because my mom moved to LA from Hawaii, and I thought I could get more fights there and become a better boxer. I lived in Hawaii, and then but she lived in Venice, so I moved. I would live there part of the year, just so I could get a bunch of fights, amateur fights, and then boom, the hostages thing came up, and I was like, oh shit, I gotta go. I mean, I gotta go. We gotta go save our people, you know. And I was like, I was young, and so I joined the army. I joined the infantry. My dad was in the infantry. He actually went to West Point.
Wow.
And I was like, I got to join the infantry, and I got to save these hostages. So I joined the army, joined the infantry. I went to basic, loved it and hated it, but I loved it more than I hated it. And so I get to my duty station. I'm in the infantry. I'm feeling really cool. Like, I got treated really special in basic. It was like, I just couldn't believe the confidence I got from martial arts and the way I carried myself. And you'll hear all these things, but then when I went to basic training, I was like, I had the drill sergeants like yelling at people, calling them such derogatory things, and then they would come to me and treat me like I was one of them, and I was like,
Hey,
oh,
John,
okay.
how are you?
Motherfucker, yeah, like I like on my your pockets on. It was crazy, and everybody has their pockets unbuttoned. You know, they're, hey, where your pockets unbuttoned? Drop and give me 20, you scumbag. And I like unbutton my pocket on purpose because I wanted to do some push-ups, and they go, John, button your pocket, man. You know, so it was like it was an eye opener for me. And then I went to my duty station, and then we're training, we're going to the field, we're doing all this infantry stuff, and then all of a sudden they let the hostages go. And I'm like, oh shit, I got things to do. I want to turn pro. I want to do all this shit. So I swear to God, I go into my first sergeant's office, First Sergeant Weary. That's Wery. He lives in the Big Island of Hawaii right now. And I go, hey, First Sergeant, you know, I know I'm supposed to be doing this army thing, but they let go of the hostages. Can I just like get out now? Because I don't really belong here. And he's like, he started laughing, and then he goes, why don't you box, man? You won the Golden Gloves last year. Because he was local. He was from Hawaii. And I was like, yeah. Okay, how do you do that? So he this is how lucky I am, and the stars aligned. Him and my company commander, who didn't have to do this, they like found out how I went about trying out for the All Army team, and they facilitated it. Like, they got me over here, and it's like just out of the goodness of their hearts. And I tried out for the team. I made the team, and that's all I did the rest of my time in the Army. Was box. Great. I mean, the camaraderie was. It stayed with me. It's stayed with me till today. And
so you spent a couple years.
It was a great team.
Traveling boxing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
that's fantastic.
That's what we had to do. It was, and it was a great bunch of guys, great coaches.
You had to be in pretty amazing shape after that.
Yeah, you don't really get it. The Army team is like, it's why I'm pretty strict on my students. Like, if you're late for training, that's your place of duty. You're getting written up. There's a week of your pay right there. If you miss training, like, people miss training. Can you believe that? If you miss training on the All Army team, you are AWOL. You're going to jail because that's your place of duty. So that's the way they took their training very seriously. And it's like, so a lot of that stayed with me, and the way that they were so disciplined. The coach on the team was, I think he was an E8, E9, Army guy, and everything was really regimented. It was like basic training on steroids. And so I got a lot out of that, and then I got out of the Army and I turned pro, and it went from there. But anyway, so that's my Army story.
How long did you box as a professional?
I don't know. I didn't, because I did like kickboxing. I even had a couple no holds barred matches, and I did boxing because I thought boxing was going to be it, and I wasn't as great as I thought I was as a boxer. And I loved kickboxing, so I was doing both, and that wasn't really. I wasn't like there's a guy named Troy Dorsey. He actually won world titles in both. I wasn't as skilled as he was. I was more just a banger, so I didn't like make it all the way. I won a couple of titles in kickboxing, but never in boxing. The farthest I went in boxing was I won the Golden Gloves for my state. I was like runner-up for California, but I never, as a pro, I never really climbed the ranks. I did in kickboxing a lot more, but so that was that.
That's a very stratified sport. Like you got a lot of people that exhibit good skills, but then like the top dudes, man, they just dominate.
Yeah, I had a lot of skill, but it was mainly just punching power, and I wasn't. Kickboxing was more for me, and then that anything goes matches came up, NHB, and then they called it MMA. Was coming around. I really liked that. But then I got out of the Army and just went about my life and became a registered nurse and just started training people. I had little fights here and there, but my main goal was raising my kids and staying in shape. And if a fight came up, I would take it, but that wasn't my career.
That's really cool that you were a nurse. It's fun. People see you and they think this dude that just is in the gym all day sweating, but I now have a vision of you like in the white skirt with the hat on, doing enemas and shit in the hospital. What kind of nursing did you do?
I was an enema nurse. I was an ER nurse.
Okay.
I was an ER nurse, and I worked in South Central LA, and it was a really tough hospital, really fun, really busy. Night shift was busier than the day shift. That's how crazy it was. And then I started working at the prison, and I worked as a prison ER nurse, and then I transferred and I worked as a psych nurse in the prison. So I had some pretty interesting ER job or RN jobs.
So you were subjected to or exposed to tons of physical trauma that in that capacity, you guys are saving people's lives. They're coming in probably in the prison, all kinds of disgusting stuff. But in South Central there, you car wrecks and stabbings and shootings and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and it's actually helped me with my training because mainly my knife stuff, because I've seen the worst of the worst knife injuries. So I've never actually been in a true knife fight, but I've seen like what works. I know the anatomy. So when I'm doing my knife training, I've seen stabs, I've seen slashes, I've seen, what will stop someone and what somebody still comes in the ER like not even really injured, but you think, wow, this guy should be dead. So that's helped me with that. And it's also helped me in my training of fighters. I've also, IV'd them when they're super dehydrated. I've stitched them up when they get cut. So it's helped me in my fight career. I haven't worked as a nurse since my gyms took off, but I still keep my skills about me.
That's good. That's fantastic. So talking about that now, we've laid a groundwork of your body of knowledge, this street versus cage stuff. So something I've noticed, you of course know better than I, that you just touched on it, this advent of MMA. So like I remember in the 90s when like the Ultimate Fighting Championship came to be and everybody thought that was the coolest thing in the world. And now fast forward 25 years or whatever it is, it's almost like I kind of make a joke. I call it the combative Second Amendment world. It's like you got to check all these boxes. Like people that are like prepared-minded folks, they go get a gun, they get a concealed carry permit, they get a tourniquet that they carry on themselves, they go take a couple medical classes, they buy a truck gun if their state allows them to do it. And like now the thing is, go to a jiu-jitsu gym and learn jiu-jitsu, because if you get knocked to the ground, you're and like I don't disagree that learning jiu-jitsu is a good thing, but I always tell people, hey man, I'd go find like a good boxing coach and like spend even a couple months learning how to throw a punch and like read people's body language of when they're going to strike you, because out in the street, dudes don't normally square off. Like a truly violent predator is not going to say, hey man, I'm about to stick a knife in your guts. Usually it's an ambush. And so it's this, I think now this, it's like this box I must check. I got to go study jiu-jitsu. What's your thoughts on that?
I think martial arts are martial arts. I think for the street, like we have a system called Hawaiian Kempo, which I originated, and it's equal parts of striking, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, and conditioning. I think the street, the clinching and the wrestling game, I think, is very different than people portray it in jiu-jitsu because of two things: biting and eye gouging. If biting and eye gouging were allowed, which they are in the street, the game is so different. Clinching goes away, top position goes away. So a rear choke is a rear choke. You can choke someone, they can't bite you or eye gouge you. But we learned so much positioning, takedown defense, and even takedowns and striking that we feel bulletproof against that. Like if somebody was it takes a while to get someone's back, usually 99% of the time. It takes a while to get to the back. And you can do that if the guy doesn't know what he's doing. But if he knows some basic positioning and escapes, it's going to make it a lot harder. But then when your face gets anywhere near his, or your body does, and he can actually bite, you're going to let go, and the fight's all taking a different turn. An eye gouge is the same way. So when grapplers tell me, when we argue about this point, they say, well, we could bite too. Right? And they could. And then, then that's like telling someone that has a baseball bat, I get a baseball bat too. So now it's a different fight though. Mm-hmm. Because if you can bite and I can bite, okay, the striking is still the same. The better striker will win because you can't bite someone that's punching you in the face, but you can bite someone that's clinching you. So if the jiu-jitsu guy could bite and the striker could bite, then it's a dogfight. It's a whole different ball game. So the jiu-jitsu turns into a dogfight, but the striking will still stay striking. And even takedowns, like a running double and shit, which will knock you out and kill you if your head bounces off the concrete. If some guy like Sammy the Bull Henson gives you a running double leg during a fight and you don't know how to defend it, you're going to hit the ground with such force that your head will bounce off the concrete and you'll be either dead or in a coma. Yeah, and we've tried this and so that's where the ground is for me. It's like there are places that we do a lot of jiu-jitsu. We do a lot of positional escapes. We do a lot of submission escapes, but we always know that the teeth and the eye gouging is right there. So a lot of things go out the window. And that's what separates the sport from the street to me, is that. And jiu-jitsu guys want to disagree with me. Well, we bite too. And like I said, my argument for that is then it's a different game. So your jiu-jitsu goes out the window and it becomes a dogfight. So that's what I feel about. And in the street, that's where I want it to be. I want my guys to know if someone takes you down, I'm not there. We're not scoring points anymore. You need to get back up. And if that means somebody's face is anywhere near yours, or any part of their body is near yours, or your hands are anywhere near their face, you need to either take their eye out or bite part of their cheek off, because they don't deserve to go home uninjured if they attack you.
Couple comments on that. I don't agree. I don't disagree from a winning perspective, I don't disagree with anything you just said, but here's like, we oftentimes will hear combatives instructors say, okay, we don't strike people with a closed fist in the street. We use palm strikes and things like that because teeth can embed into fingers. You easily break hands, right? We hear people say this. I'm just saying that there's something that's just commonly spoken. So you are coming from a boxing background. You're saying that, make a fist, smash their jaw. So you've heard people say this, though. We don't make a fist. We open hand slaps, things of that nature, because of the trade-off of you're trying to stop them, but now you're breaking your hands or getting teeth embedded in you. And then I've heard guys go on even further. The mouth is dirty, so you're going to get germs. You're going to, risk infection. So biting some druggie's face with syphilis or whatever, and now I'm latching onto him. Your thought is like risk reward. I'd rather get you off of me than get a knife in my ribs. And then deal with the consequences at the hospital.
Yeah, number one, your chances of catching a bloodborne disease for you being the biter are much less than if he bit you. Okay? It doesn't transfer the same. Number two, this is life or death. So you're chancing something, maybe Hep C, maybe Hep B, maybe HIV. You're chancing it. But instantly you're going to die if you don't. So This is a last ditch effort. I'm not telling you to do this with your sparring partner. To me, I don't even think of bullying as online bullying. To me, bullying is when someone's about to lay their hands on you. And my street scenarios, you always have in your mind know that it's life or death. Using a palm strike instead of a fist in the street. You saw if you saw the fights this weekend, Paul Felder broke his freaking ulnar in the fight. I mean, full dislocated or displaced fracture. He fought the rest of the fight. Effectively, it was a close fight. You break your hand in a fight, it's better to risk breaking your hand in a fight and knocking the person out than it is using palm strikes and shit. And they're so less effective. It's not even funny. Unless your name is Boss Rudin, you cannot effectively strike someone with a slap. You just can't. This is like a rock. This is like paper. You always want to use this. You can fight with a fracture of your hand. Go to the orthopedic surgeon and let him fix it after, as opposed to opening your hands, and the other guy will close his and knock you out or kill you, and you don't have to go to the orthopedic surgeon because you got to go to the neurosurgeon instead.
I like that.
So it just makes absolutely no sense. Somebody's teeth get stuck in your, like, I've heard that maybe once in my whole 60 years. That just doesn't happen.
You've heard somebody say it once, or you've heard it actually happening once.
I've heard it happening once, and I know that there's a lot of fractures. I know that. I've actually broke my hand. But it's better to risk a broken hand than a massive concussion. So to me, a street fight, it's a no-brainer. You always want to close your hands and swing for a knockout, as opposed to opening your hands and trying to slap for a nothing. I don't know. What are you going to get out of a slap? Are you going to irritate? You're going to irritate the guy? I mean, so that's how I feel about that. That's
a Wing Chun guy that practices the soft palm technique. You're saying no go.
No, if there's some Wing Chun guy that's been practicing it for 30 years, 10 hours a week or whatever, maybe they're good. Boss Rudin could knock probably almost everyone out with his open palms because he fought Pancrase. But the average person you're training martial arts, they're not gonna pick up on those things, and they're not willing to put in the time and the energy to work their heel strikes over and over and over again until they become effective. The most natural strike for anyone is going to be a rear-handed hook. Everyone.
You love the left. You love the left.
I like the left hook, but most people naturally throw their rear hand strike. I've trained my left so much it's stronger than my right. But most people, it's the other way around. So if you're going to teach somebody self-defense, they're not going to put in the 20 hours a week that I have my training most of my life. They're just going to learn it and maybe practice it once in a while. So they have to go to their strength, their go-to. And the go-to for most people, like Dan Henderson, is just a power right hand. So that's what we teach them.
That you think you bring up a extremely valid point. We sometimes, especially like the social media world now, where everybody can put their 2 cents in, people will say, well, why are you doing that? It's not like the best case. And same answer. We have a lot of people. Well, I know that the average person that sees what we're putting out isn't going to spend 20 or 30 hours a week practicing. We got to like create a few things. It's sadly lowest common denominator training. Like here's something that can and will work, that you don't have to have 40 different skills mastered or the dedication, which is a nice way of saying people are lazy. Unfortunately.
Yeah, not really, because you could say, I mean, somebody's trying to teach me, okay, the marketing on my marketing my website stuff. I just don't do that. So I'm lazy when it comes to that. But when it comes to training, I'll be training all day long. Okay, so I'm not lazy.
I agree. I guess what I meant by that is they're not willing to put the effort in. Like if you're smart, right, you went to school, you got a nursing degree. So if you really wanted to, you could force yourself to do it. But
it's not,
what I'm saying is,
I'm not going to spend the time. Yeah. I'm not going to put in the time for that. So the reward isn't worth it. Yeah. It boggles my mind that people are willing to spend, females are willing to spend, like, when you look at their lives over their lifespan, they're willing to spend like something like 2 years putting on makeup. Just when you put there all the time, it's something crazy. It's not, and I'm exaggerating. It's like, but it's some kind of time.
It's a lot.
It would boggle your mind. But they're not, and we, just so we don't have little gingivitis or maybe miss a tooth here and there, we're willing to spend like something like 6 months out of our life just to brush our teeth. But we're not willing to spend even 1/10 of that to save our life by training our bodies and our, with weapons. I call them equalizers versus open hand. We're just not willing to do that. But then we'll go to the dentist so we don't get a little cavity, and we want our teeth straight, so we'll put little braces on. But we're not willing to practice how to stay alive like humans have for 2.5 million years.
Yeah, man.
So it boggles my mind that people aren't used to do that. They think all they got to do is call 911, and that's why that's their savior. But you're your own 911 in the real world, and people don't realize that.
The thing you just touched on is something I share with students, like the mundane tasks, like brushing your teeth. I do air squats when I'm brushing my teeth, and like loading magazines. Oftentimes I'll do like a deep stretch, like a quad stretch or something while I'm loading mags on the range. Like that's not multitasking. I'm just, instead of just doing the mundane thing, or I'll recite mantras. Like I have a whole list of things that I go through every day in my head, and I will use that time to, even it might just be like internal. Like if I'm brushing my teeth, I can't be talking, but I think that comes down to like the desire though, to have some goal.
Yeah.
What do you want?
Well, yeah, mine is like, most of my watches are high-end watches that are automatic. So while I'm to wind my watches, because they sit and then they're unwound when I get them. So every night when I get a new watch, I practice like using striking techniques, and I put my knife in my hand and I practice. That's how I wind my watch.
Oh, because as you move it, it winds it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not that sophisticated. I don't have any watches that require that. I got a little battery. I need a watch like that.
Yeah, but you probably know more about guns. Guns, like to me, a gun is something I carry. It's a 5-shot Smith, and I'm perfectly fine with that. And I'm not a gun guy, but when it comes to watches, I am a watch guy.
I don't have one down here. Yes, I do. No, I get it. I'm a gun guy. I don't have the experience to even know what to buy. I'd like a couple nice watches. Have you seen us play with these at all? Have you seen any of my videos on this? Colonel Blade?
I
No.
like the one I have is a Karambit. It's a Emerson curved blade. That's
Got
my
the hook. This is
that's my
more of a striking tool.
yeah. I'm more of a slasher, and like some knife guy, he like argued with me because I called it slicing, and he said you don't slice with a person, you slash. It's like a slash is the name of some gay wasn't he a rock star, some Slash, and he was like
Guns N' Roses was the lead
he was
guitar.
Slash. He was gay, right? Wasn't he gay?
I don't think so.
He had to. You can't have the name Slash because it just sounds so gay. It's like Slash.
He probably bedded up 10,000 women in his life.
Oh, never mind that. Scratch that. But anyway, Slash just rolls off the tongue like Slash. I'm over here. I don't know. But anyway, so I was talking about slicing. I think slicing is better in the street than stabbing. I think hooking is better in the street than straight punches, and that gets. I get a lot of.
It's very interesting to me. So why do you think that the slash is more effective than a stab?
Just working in the ER. This is a completely just experience being in the ER, and to me, there's more surface area that you're affecting. There's more blood vessels that you're affecting, and there's more ligaments. So and tendons and muscles. To me, you're disabling. You're stopping the threat more, and you're giving them a higher blood flow or blood loss quicker. So it's a quicker blood loss, and to me, that's going to stop the attack. You could stab them, but I've seen guys with like 10 stab wounds come into the ER, rush them to surgery, and it might have like nicked like an aorta or something, and they might die or they might be saved. But I've seen more guys walk in with that kind of injury and then be rushed to the ER. But you don't care about them. You don't care about killing that person. You want to stop the immediate threat. Mm-hmm. I think it stops it quicker if you did like with a karambit blade and you sliced and it cut. If it cut the carotid, they're dying instantly. But like you're cutting more blood vessels, a wider range of blood vessels, and to me it bleeds more quicker. Not only is it mental, because now the guy looks down and his intestines are coming out, or if you slice his arm, now you've sliced his actual tendon and ligament and he can't use the arm anymore. As opposed to stabbing, you might hit the heart. That's a very unlikely thing because of the breastplate and the location of the heart. So chances of hitting a vital organ that will stop him instantly are hit and miss. You can't aim that way. You can't aim during a street fight because of gross motor skills, fine motor movements, etc. And then your opponent moving. So with the slices, to me, it's just more effective than stabbing. So I prefer. That's why I carry a curved blade. So it's not a stabbing weapon, but I've seen and I've used it on different things, on seeing how deeply it would actually it would actually penetrate very deeply with a slice. Mm-hmm. So you have to practice. You have to practice with it because it is a learned art. You don't just like stick. You have to. And I go for targets, but you can't really aim for targets because the street scenario. So I'm just trying to get broad targets like the arm or the body. And my main target is usually the face or the neck, because if you slice somebody's face open, 9 out of 10 times, fight's over. And if you touch their neck, with a slice, you could slice somebody's carotid in the OR with a trauma surgeon ready and he'd still die. He's going to die that quickly. If you stabbed him pretty much anywhere near an ER, he'll be able to get to that ER, and he'll still be able to shoot you, basically. So that's how I feel about slicing versus stabbing. Bing.
That's one of the other reasons I like this, because you can do both. I'm not selling
You can do
this.
both, yeah.
I've got a video where I stab up a steel garbage can with this, and then I slash the steel garbage can. You can rip a slash 10, 12 inches into a steel trash can. But
you
anyway.
can. And so and mine is a folder. So and I have something similar to that. It's what's a Spyderco? A Spyderco. Mm-hmm. I think it's a Spyderco, and it's probably my second favorite. But my first favorite is it's an Emerson. It's a curved blade. And I practice with it a lot, and I just love it. I feel very confident with it, and so that's my feeling on that. A lot of people disagree with me, and that's fine. I mean, I got to keep my own self safe, and I feel it would. But I also practice with a straight with stabbing as well, because if I'm somewhere and I don't have my blade on, I'll either have like a tactical pen on me, or sometimes you're in a restaurant and you don't have your knife on you, which is very, 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 very seldom. You pick up a steak knife. Yeah.
I believe you're a big fan of those little keychain batons. You carry one of those, don't you? You give those out to all your friends and family.
God. Yeah, I actually. So I have one of those. Oh wait, let me show you. I want to show you one of mine. I do have one. Check it out. Because if I'm gonna rag on something, I'm gonna at least test it out. So yeah, I do have one. The Kubaton of Death.
I've seen people carry one for years, but I don't think I've ever heard of or seen anybody use one to any effect.
Because it's ineffective. So you'll never, babe. Can I get a little coffee? Thanks, love you. Because it's ineffective, so it's never going to help. But they are. I mean, I don't know, man. I see a lot of. I've seen a lot of like they like touch the arm and shit, like it's supposed to like I don't know. Let go. Man, it's so funny. Because I could do the exact same thing with my pen. It's like, but anyway, to me, here's one that I mean, if you're gonna use a weapon that simulates a knife, carry a knife instead. Don't simulate a knife. Use a knife. And a lot of places you can't carry guns.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the caveat. If you're a place you can't have the weapon.
Yeah, if you can't, and that's terrible. That's why there's, I have a slew of them, because I did a whole testing on them, of tactical pens. I'm a big believer in tactical pens. I'm a big believer.
One. We have one that we rep. I'll send it to you.
Oh yeah, I'd love to. I'm a tactical pen. But I'm a big fan of equalizers, and like I don't believe in women's self-defense versus men's self-defense. Even though it's a good selling point for a self-defense class, there's absolutely no difference between. I mean, what's the thing? What's the difference between a man and a woman? I mean, the size difference. Okay, so it should be little person training versus bigger person training. Maybe there should be weight classes in self-defense classes, because it has nothing to do. A woman, because she has a vagina, what is that? Why does that differ from her defensive techniques if somebody's trying to attack her? So it's the size, it's the equalizer because of the size. And anybody that says a woman, well, you can't give them a knife because then they just take it away. The guy will take it away. That's like telling the woman, you're so stupid and you're so weak that you can't even learn self-defense with a knife, because the guy would just walk up to you and take it away from you and use it on you. That's like condescending to the 10th power or the
In
1000th power,
my
and
state
it's unbelievable.
in Illinois, as we were, so I'm a Second Amendment activist, so we fought to change gun laws here in our state. For years, the state police had a handout for colleges. It was a handout for college girls how to deal with rape, because it was illegal to basically carry anything, pepper spray, a knife, any of that shit in the city was always illegal. So they had this handout that got handed out on college campuses, and it talked about using your hairbrush to try to like scratch the person's face. And ultimately it culminated, this was from our state police, it culminated in, if you have to, look the other way and relax your body so that as they're penetrating you, they don't tear your vaginal walls. No.
God, I think my wife got that memo.
I mean, it was like, so when we fought that, we're telling our daughters and our nieces and granddaughters, just lay still so you can get raped easier. Like, what the It's insane, but the same thing. And that was one of the arguments.
That's the Me Too movement. That's the Me Too movement right there.
One of the arguments, though, was, well, if we give these girls the ability to have a weapon, the bad guy's just going to take it away from them. They're already raping them, like and possibly murdering them. I have sadly buried two friends, one of them 16 and one 18, that were raped and killed. Is that you carry that?
This is what I taught my daughter to carry in college. She carried around like a samurai. Wait, you had two friends that were raped and murdered? That's pretty brutal.
And that stuff happens all the time, unfortunately. That stuff's part of the reason that I do what I do.
Yeah, me too. Me too. It's part of the reason I do that, and it's that extreme stuff. And then there's the little stuff that turns extreme, is the bullying. Just the bullying, which ruins kids' lives, leads to depression, suicide. And since my life, I was bullied, and then I turned it around, and I just remember it's like I can feel the difference almost the day it happened. I remember the day it happened. The big guy at school started a fight with me. That's what they call white people.
So let's go back. You told me this. So you lived in Hawaii. You were raised in Hawaii. So you're a Caucasian kid growing up in the islands, and the local kids didn't like you.
Yeah, basically, and I would, like, on Sundays when my family would be watching the Carol Burnett show, I'd be in the room practicing, because I had these big pillows, and I'd practice like hitting them and stuff, because I always heard it's actually sound. I mean, you get scared more than it's actually is. The bark of it is worse than the bite, but the bite is all the time. So I don't want to be bitten at all. So they had something called Kill Howley Day, which is like the whites, and then the locals. You hear that they go around killing the Howleys, right? And there's no Kill Howley Day per se, but there are locals always beating up on whites. They don't like them, took their island, etc. You can't look back at them because you gotta look away, or then it starts a fight. So I got a really bad habit of staring at people, because that bothered me, that I didn't want to look away. But so it wasn't like a Kill Howley Day, even though if you Google Kill Howley Day, you're gonna read some really interesting stories. But there isn't no Kill Howley Day. You know what I mean? I didn't go to school. The last day of school, they said it was Kill Howley Day. I had never heard of a Howley being killed on Kill Howley Day, but they beat up Howleys. I mean, they didn't like Howleys. Haole.
Have to look that up.
Yeah. And so I started training, and I before I started going to middle school or intermediate school, I knew it was a lot worse there. My elementary school wasn't a really rowdy place, but the intermediate school that I was going to go to was, and there was full of locals. It wasn't a good area, and so So I looked in the phone book, the yellow pages at 10 years old, on my own. And I found a place that looked like really cool. It was called Godin School of Self-Defense. And I took the bus down there on a Monday or whatever, and I walked in, I go, oh, can I start training? And the instructor was this big burly guy, local guy. Yeah, go train over there. You know, the gym was 400 square feet. That's tiny. But we trained, and we trained hard, and Godin was a criminal, and I found that out later, and he became my mentor, but he was in and out of prison, and he was a strong-arm, very violent person, but he loved me, and he mentored me, and he protected me, and he taught me how to be tough. And in and out of prison, I stayed loyal to him and his art. I got my black belt. He came to Chuck's black belt ceremony. He stayed with me even when I moved to the mainland. Loved the pit. He loved that I opened my own gym. And then he passed away. He died. But during his training, it was so mental, physical and mental. But like I went to school and it just snapped. Like when I hit junior high school, it was kind of like by the time I hit 8th grade, I just knew nobody was going to anymore. I don't know how I knew that, but I knew it. And when I beat up the biggest kid in school, or one of the biggest kids in school, who actually came up to me and said, Holly, give me your lunch money. And I got in a fight with him, and I won, and everybody was around, because when a fight happens, you know, everybody rushes. And after that, everything changed in my life. You know, I became the tough guy in school. Nobody ever picked on me. And my life changed. It became like I just loved my life. I didn't pick on anyone, but I walked around just looking at everybody. Hey, what's up? How you doing, bro? And I felt like I was here, you know. And that feeling of confidence has stayed with me till I'm 60 right now. I still feel the exact same way. And that feeling that martial arts gave me, I can't even explain how good it feels to walk. And I've had doctors, lawyers, I've had rich people like admit to me that, you know, they're you know, it bothers them that they have to walk into a club or a bar or anywhere, walk down the street, and when somebody looks at them, they look away real quick because they don't want that confrontation, because they're intimidated by intimidated by people. And not being intimidated by anyone is the best feeling in the world. You know, you don't feel superior, but you definitely don't feel intimidated. And martial arts has given me that. I never got picked on again from 8th grade. And I was a little white kid with long blonde hair. People would not pick up. They just knew that I wasn't the guy to be picked on. So it changed my life in a crazy way that stayed with me till right now. And that's why I push martial arts so hard, you know, because martial arts, it changes lives. And that martial arts could be a gun. It could be a knife. It could be jiu-jitsu. It could be karate. It doesn't matter the art. It matters the mindset that it instills in people.
Amen.
Right? The gun isn't going to help as much if you're a kid in school. It'll help the adult. I think every adult should have a gun, especially a smaller person, i.e. woman, in the house. But I think every kid should learn how and defend themselves. Not just learn how, but do it. If they got to take a licking or two to stop the bullies from picking on them, it's worth it in the long run. Whereas if they just turn the other way and get bullied in life, they're just going to walk around like sheep with their head down, and they're just going to be weak, heartless sheep for the rest of their life.
You and I chatted on that the other day a little bit, how we are now basically creating, my words, not yours, I won't put them into your mouth, but what I had said is we're creating a society of young people that are unable or unwilling to defend themselves, stick up for themselves, and really like just be self-responsible. We're training a whole generation of young people to require government or somebody else to deal with problems that in reality nature laid upon them to deal with themselves, be it paying their bills or dealing with some type of aggression towards them. Well, and just to add, I always advocate dealing with the police, using the police to deal with a problem, but you can't call the cops if somebody's sticking a knife in your face or got you.
Right, and you can't call your teacher if some guy's shoving you to the ground in the schoolyard. You can't. Mm-hmm. It's too late. Mm-hmm. They're once they lay their hands on you, it's too late. And yeah, if somebody's breaking into your house at 3 a.m, you know, you can't go run and call 911 because the average response time depends on where you live. But here, where I live, it's in the high 20s minutes.
Yeah, so
because
you're dead.
You know, you can get shot 6,500 times before the cops get here. 65. You could be stabbed 785 times, and you could be hit with a sledgehammer, a 20-pound sledgehammer, 950 times.
At least,
so,
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, so 911's great, and I would call 911 after I shot him. I call 911 to, like, please get someone over here. Some guy was shot. But I'm not going to waste my time dialing a phone if somebody's in my room, walking into my door. I'm not going to go for my phone. I'm going to go for my gun, right? And if you feel differently, whatever your feelings on gun control, if you're going to call 911 when someone's actually walking into your bedroom at 3 a.m. and not go for a gun, go for a phone, you're stupid as shit. And whatever happens to you after that, I'm not going to say you deserve it, but you're asking for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you didn't do anything to redirect the course of events. That's that, and that is that. I just had somebody comment today on a video that we put up.
That's awkward. Sorry.
I had a guy, I didn't mind it. I had a guy say that I was teaching people to murder people. I said, no, I'm not, you dumb son of a bitch. Like, if you push aggression upon me and I feel that what you're doing is something that could affect my life and limb, then I'm going to deploy equal and greater force against you. And if the byproduct of that is you dying, that's not my fault. I didn't do that. You did that. But people perceive in the public, I have a lot of people that perceive like, well, John just talked about slashing people's faces. That could kill somebody. It could. Your intention, I believe, isn't to kill the person. It's to make them stop. If they die, that's not your problem. You did this to me, and I'm trying to protect my life or another innocent person's life. So that's just the byproduct of it, right?
That's that's a whole different story. But the whole other person thing. But yeah, I think I'm trying to stop the threat, and you can do it in a couple different ways. But you can cause extreme blood loss, right? And you can do that. You can do that by carotid, cutting off the carotids, by a choke, or you can do it by having them bleed, like externally, exsanguinate, or you do it by a severe concussion. So you concuss them to the point where they're either unconscious or near unconscious. So the main way to stop somebody from attacking you is either blood flow or concussion. Those are the two main ways. Fear doesn't usually work, and fear doesn't usually work, and logic doesn't usually work. So you can't really. Pain doesn't usually work. Like kick him in the balls. Yeah, he'll rape you harder if you kick him in the balls. He'll be so pissed off. He will rape you harder. So balls are a good attack certain ways, but kicking someone in the balls will not stop them. But you have to render them unconscious, unable to attack you, and that is usually by, like I said, concussion or blood loss. So that's how I feel about martial. That's how I feel about stopping the attack. And you're not trying to hurt them. You're trying to stop the attack. And the only way to stop the attack is to become very violent. You can't be passive in your defense.
Sure.
Right? Like Aikido says, you just redirect this or you can't redirect anything. Mm-hmm. You have to put a stop to that person's consciousness. Whether
Some
that's like I
people
said,
have told me that this is just like a mincing of words to not admit that you're trying to kill the person. And I say I personally feel it's not whatsoever. It's defining the outcome. You know, I don't want to kill you. I don't want to kill anybody. But if I have to stop you, and the byproduct of what was required to stop you is you bleeding to death or being so concussed that you have a brain bleed, or I shot you through a vital organ, was not my intent to end your life. It was to stop you from the violence against me.
Because this is the last ditch. This is the last ditch, because if you can separate them, if you can't this is my new tweet. If you can't separate yourself from them physically, like closing a door, locking it, driving away, you always would rather separate yourself, right? So if you can't separate yourself from them, you have to separate them from their consciousness.
That's a good way of looking at it. Yeah, there you go. That wasn't a mantra, though. That was just
no. But you always want to get away. If you can get away, you always have to try to get away. If you can do it safely, turning around and running is not safely. Okay, that's not safely. If you had a big door that could lock, that's safely. If you're like standing on the other side of the door, you just close the door, and that's all it took. And if the court could prove you could have done that, you're going to jail because now you just murdered them. If you could have just stepped on your gas and driven away, then you're going to go to jail, right? That's why I
showed me a video of a guy on the side of the road. I believe it was California yesterday or the day before. Motorcyclist and a motorist, and the motorist is scared because the motorcyclist is yelling at him, and they had some kind of altercation because of each other's driving. The motorist is pointing a gun out the window, and the motorcyclist is going, "I'm going to take that gun away from you," blah, blah, blah. So they're having this 2-minute screaming match, and I'm thinking, get back on your motorcycle, you dumb son of a bitch. The guy's pointing a gun at you over some traffic shit, but people see that, and then they're commenting, well, he could have shot him because he pointed a gun at him, or he could have shot him because he came up to his window. Like, what jury is going to say you could shoot somebody because they walked up to your car window?
I'll tell you when. If you're stupid, if they have any kind of protest march, whether it's Black Lives or White Lives or women's rights, if there's a protest and they stop you, like you know how they stop cars?
Different than what I was just describing.
Yeah. Right. If you can get away, always get away. But if you stepped on your gas, I would. Even though you might you run someone over and they're going to be you're going to go to court over that. But I'd rather drive through them and go to court than wait till they pull me out of the car and pull a Reginald Denny on me. You remember Reginald Denny?
Yeah, you ain't. I don't care how badass you are. You're not stopping a mob of people stomping your brains in.
Yeah, like Reginald Denny. That's my Reginald Denny story.
That's scary.
Reginald Denny was pulled out of that truck, beaten, kicked, punched, and then they smashed him with some big brick. A big brick, they threw it at his head. Remember that during the LA riots?
For those of you that are too young to remember that, Google him and check it out. It was a brutal. They got a helicopter footage. The helicopter, the newscaster or the police copter that filmed it.
Yeah, I don't remember. But imagine if he had a gun in his truck and just when they started to pull him out, just shot the first one, they would have scattered and he could have driven away. Yeah, but there's the Second Amendment right there.
That's crazy. Hey, I just noticed your tattoo. Good news. What's that mean? Is it like good news? I'm about to knock your ass out, or bad news? Okay.
I got good news and bad news.
That's funny shit.
It's usually the same thing. Like it's usually good news and bad news, guys. All right, good news is you're gonna do 15 minutes of burpees today. Bad news is you're gonna do 15 minutes of burpees. It's almost always the same, and it's already nobody laughs anymore. My students just look at me like, "You're such a old, washed up piece of shit." But I do it.
They don't think that.
No, but I do that, and that's my good news and bad news. Almost done. Don't let anyone take your lunch money. Live clean, train hard, fight dirty. I have a bunch that I kind of
throw out there.
I have some mantras.
What was that one? Live clean, train
Train
hard,
hard
fight
and
dirty.
fight dirty. Yeah.
I like that one.
Yeah, and
That's a good one.
don't let anyone take your lunch money is like my main one because of where I grew up, and lunch money was a quarter, and the locals, you know, I say locals because they were the rowdy ones taking my lunch money. It was a quarter, and that's what you paid for lunch. You stood in line, you gave a quarter to the lunch monitor, and then you got a plate of food, and it was good, and that's what everybody carried was a quarter. So to me, the quarter represents, you know, not being bullied because I don't want anyone to take my lunch money. Now you can parlay or transfer that. Don't let anyone take your lunch money into don't let your laziness get you down. Study hard, finish a college degree. Don't let your weakness leave your body and train hard. Don't let somebody rape you. Don't let them take your lunch money. So basically, it's being assertive and standing up for standing up for yourself, basically. But I just say, don't let anyone take your lunch money. Bing.
I like that. Which, to me, is like the ultimate level of self-responsibility. I'm going to look out for this or this or this. I'm not going to let people dump shit into my brain. I'm not going to let my heart get polluted by evil.
Yeah. Why would anybody be stupid enough? Let me ask you this. Why would anybody be, first of all, I bet you,
I like you.
I bet nobody, like going on a plane, how could anybody think that would be better than a tactical pen? Because at least you can write with a tactical pen too. You know what I mean? You could write with a tactical pen, and you could actually stab people with it. With this, all you can do is nothing. Nothing.
There is a little bit of a point there.
I know that the one I ordered, I wanted it to be flat so it'd make a better point for me, you know. But then, so I ordered this on Amazon, and it came with a little point. I go, oh, this isn't as benign as I wanted it to be, but whatever.
That's funny. So live clean, train hard, or fight dirty. What does live clean mean to you? Do you drink coffee? So you have some stimulants.
I think that's. Yeah, but I think that's clean. I think they're proving how good coffee is for you.
I'm just asking. Some people clean
coffee.
Like I eat spinach and water. You know.
So to me, living clean is I've never been drunk. I think when people get drunk, whatever happens to them, whether it's raped or murdered or assaulted or a car or whatever, to me, I'm not saying they deserve it, but they asked for it because they chose to drink.
Do you drink it?
Yes, I love the taste of beer, so I'll have a beer. Never two, but I'll have a beer. Never been drunk, never did. I love bourbon, but I'll have a shot. Never two.
So it's if a guy doesn't drink a lot and you're like a 200-pounder.
Yeah.
So that's that's like a relaxing effect. But it's not making you out of sorts where you don't know.
I think like I've never felt anything from a shot of well, it's not I don't know what's a shot, but I have this thing of bourbon. I've never felt anything from it or one beer. I've had two beers before, and I actually feel so. I know it like tipsy. Like I start feeling at two, so I'll know what it'll feel like to get drunk, but I'll never. I don't do that, so I'll never cross that line.
Okay.
My wife and I are thinking about having fun on my 60th, which will be in a year and a half, and I think I'm going to get
and have two beers.
I think I want to get a little more than that. I want a lot of people around me. My students, and I have some really tough students, and I want them to be my bodyguards in case I get stupid. And I just want to go up to everybody in the bar and do I want to be drunk and just say to everyone. That's I want to be. I just want to be I want to be an obnoxious drunk once in my life.
Oh, that's funny.
I think it'd be funny, but I want people around me. I want my keys to be taken away, but I'm going to have bodyguards. I'll probably have some of my toughest fighters around me, and they're going to have instructions that they have to stay around me the whole time, because one of my main reasons I've never been drunk or stoned, and is because I feel like I don't have control then, so I could just become you know, somebody's easily become someone's victim. And that's what being weak is. Like, you're a victim. You know what I mean? You've been pussified. The pussification of our American youth is working. Let me just tell you.
That's our fault. We the people.
Yeah.
We the people are doing it. So what else? Live clean. So you don't you don't abuse drugs and alcohol. So you eat well.
Right.
I'm assuming.
I eat very well. I'm not a crazy if there was one diet that I followed, which I don't follow a specific diet, but it'd be like bulletproof-ish. I fast every day. I do intermittent fasting, so I have a window when I eat. Usually it's 16 fast, 8-hour window of food I'm eating.
Okay.
I've gone a little farther, and sometimes I'll go a little farther, like 18 hours fast, 6-hour eating window. So I do that. I feel really good about that, and I feel really good eating more fats than anything else. Cutting out almost all starches unless I feel like a starch. I don't deprive myself of anything I really want. And then I'll eat a lot of vegetables, green vegetables, red meat, just any kind of meat, but a lot of fats. Fats are my mainstay of my diet. So and I fast. I intermittent fast pretty much every day. I don't take it crazy. We're going to Hawaii next week for my anniversary, and I'm going to eat some good local food. I'm going to eat some rice. I'm going to eat some macaroni salad. I'm going to eat some good old local food. But then most of the time, like probably 95% of my time, I'm eating really clean, and I'm fasting. And I train hard. Really hard. I train pretty much almost as hard as I did when I was fighting.
Every day. So every day you're in the gym.
I train. I have a regimen. I do 5 days of training a week. I don't veer from that at all. I take 2 days off. I do 3 really hard days and 2 moderate days every week. I do that.
Are the days off consecutive, or are they spread out?
No, never. It's Friday and Monday.
Okay.
So I do Friday off, and then I work really hard Saturday. Sundays hard-ish, and then I take off Monday, and then I work really hard Tuesday, moderate Wednesday, and really hard Thursday. And that's that. What?
Do you get a lot of sleep?
Yeah, I really do. I mean, I get between 6 and 8 hours.
Okay. I notice the older I've gotten, the more sleep I need to keep working.
That's weird. It's weird. Yeah. Because I worked graveyard shift for probably close to 20 years of my life as an RN, and I averaged 4 hours of sleep in a 24-hour period. And during that time, I won a couple of world titles. I mean, I trained really hard. I just had a weird shift. I worked from usually 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., you know? So I had to catch an hour here, an hour there. Then I had to go to the gym. I couldn't tell my fighter, you know, my gyms and my sparring partners, and I worked the graveyard, so you got to be on my schedule. I had to be on theirs. So I would sleep here and there. If I ever took my kids to the movies, 100% of the time I'd fall asleep. I'd fall asleep in any car ride. I mean, I was always tired, but I trained really hard. So, like I said,
you a supplement guy? Do you do supplements?
No. I like fish oil. I like MCT oil. I like fat. But I'm not a supplement guy. And listening to someone who I really respect, like Joe Rogan talk, I should be, because he's made the best case for supplements I've ever heard. But I'm just not that into them. Like I said, I have fish oil, and I'll have some powders here and there, like different kind of protein powders. But I'm pretty much basic. I'll get whatever I eat. I don't do steroids. I've never done testosterone. I'm thinking about it.
Have you been tested?
No, I don't want to get to. I've never been tested on anything because I just don't want to know.
No, you don't want to know.
I don't know anything.
So you don't know, like, any of your blood levels, like
none,
cholesterol? No.
None. I don't really care. I just
Ignorance is bliss, huh?
To me, I know how I feel, and that's what dictates what I do, how I feel, because the numbers to me are just numbers. To me, they don't mean anything.
So I just interrupted you. You were contemplating having some testosterone supplementation?
Yeah, because I do a podcast with a good buddy of mine, and he's a orthopedic surgeon. We do a podcast every week called Pitmaster and the Doc, and he's the doc and I'm the pitmaster. We just had on the big pygmy on last week. His name is Justin Wren, and he's an MMA fighter. He's 15-2, and he's actually fought in the UFC, and he fights for Bellator right now. Every year he goes to the Congo to save the pygmies. He's trying to save the pygmy tribes.
Wow.
Because I didn't know they were being extinct, but I guess they are. But so anyway, I do these podcasts, and we had Bruce Buffer on, Big John McCarthy on. We have a lot of good big time guys, but then we have regular guests, and then sometimes we just talk about medical and martial arts. He's one of my students. I think he's a green belt, but he's also an orthopedic surgeon. He's probably my best friend, but we hang out a lot. But he's an orthopedic surgeon, so we do this podcast, and we thought it would be fun to like do our blood tests and then change our diet a little and do some changes and see if we could naturally get our blood work better. And then we thought it would be fun to, he would prescribe us some testosterone if our level was low at all, and then just see the differences. So that's probably going to happen within the year. But as of right now, I've never tried any kind of PED at all, even during my career.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with not doing it. If there's nothing wrong with you, I kind of try to stay totally natural. I've got a lot of friends that have been prescribed all manner of stuff, growth hormones, and
yeah, me too. And it makes a huge difference.
Concern
you look at Joe Rogan. Look at Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
I mean, he swears by testosterone. So does Matt Serra. Does Dana White. These guys are doing. They look freaking good, man, when they're doing it. They talk about how good they feel. Yeah, Stallone. There's so many people that do it that you wouldn't think. I've talked to guys. I go, "Are you on like testosterone?" Just by looking at the change, and they always go, "Yeah, man, I feel better than I ever have." And yeah. So I might try it someday, but right now I'm feeling so good. It's just like I don't even want to change anything.
Yeah, I don't like messing with my machine. I've got a friend that's a doctor, and we were talking one time, and he said, when you see a guy that age that looks like that, he's like, that ain't anything but drugs or testosterone. And if it makes you happy and your quality of life is increased, some of the side effects I don't really care for that I've read about. So I don't kind of like you, I don't want to do things that jack up my vibe. But
I feel too good. Like right now, I meditate every day. I meditate. I work out. I eat good. I do what I love for a living. I actually walk around like I'm on a cloud most of the time. I was like I mean, right now, I consider this work. It's a Friday. I consider talking to you right now as part of my job.
Sure.
So this is this is what I do, and then I'll go train a little, and I'll go to the store, then I'll go teach a couple classes, and it's like that's what my life is. So yeah, I love my life. So changing it, we might do it. We might do it for fun, and I might not. But no, I've never tried anything, and I just can't believe where I am right now in life. It's astonishing. Never without martial arts. Everybody should train or get a gun.
Well, hey, just so you know, I'm not like a get a gun and it solves all ills. That's not my mindset by any means. To me, that's just a tool in the journey of self-protection. That's the way I look at it.
Right, but to me, self-protection is everything. Because if you don't protect yourself, you're dead. So to me, whether you're empty hands, a knife, or if you have to, oh my God, don't make me use. I'll challenge you. You can get your little guns all day long, but if I have this, man, I will win every time. But I think whether you have an equalizer or you don't. to me, staying safe is, you got to be safe, right? Safe includes two things: safe from harm, somebody harming you, right? Or you're dead, right? Or you have to be safe, like, when you're working, when you're climbing on a ladder, so you don't fall and kill yourself. I don't deal with that. I deal with the safety, right, of protecting. So that's number one. And then I deal with the health. Like, you're going to die if you're not healthy. So you need to be you need to be safe and healthy. Without safety and health, you're dead. So I take care of two of those three: the safety of protection and the health, like, a good diet. To me, meditating is very important. I've been doing it forever. And I think it's one of the things that's helped me the most. But so meditating, training, and then obviously working out. So anyway, that's my life.
You brought up something I talk about with all of our students. I have this we thresh out an answer, and it's, why are you here? And everybody always says, to be better at protecting myself. And I say, why? And the answer always, like, if they think about it, it's because you want to live a long, full life. Why? Because you enjoy living. You don't want to be dead. So, like, why live fat, unhealthy, overweight, whatever? Like, I'm just agreeing with you. We need to not break our heads and hands in training. We need to not be fat and out of shape with all kinds of ailments, because that's what we're trying to do. Otherwise it becomes just like a macho thing, ego thing. I want the gun, or I want to be a badass and show that I have some knockout skills. And that I think is good for a little while until the body starts to fail.
Yeah. And the majority of our injuries in our school, because we don't spar really hard at all, but we do a jiu-jitsu class, and probably like close to 100%, probably like 99% of our injuries are on the jiu-jitsu side of the class. And then when we just threw a tournament, and we had striking and grappling in the tournament. Well, the striking, you can do takedowns. It's kind of MMA, but it's for kids. And all of the injuries happened on the grappling end of the all the striking. Just is jiu-jitsu. If they think it's a gentler, safer, softer art, but it's not. I mean, you don't get the head trauma, so I like that. But there's a lot of ligaments and tendons and muscles, and there's a lot of injuries in jiu-jitsu. There really is. So that's that. That's me in a nutshell.
So I think I'm going to title this podcast "Live Clean, Train Hard, Fight Dirty." I appreciate your insights. We kind of bounced all over the place, but gave me a new understanding of you. I just thought you were a pretty face on the TV. So
I get that look a lot. I get that thought a lot. I get called pretty boy, and I come off. But yeah. In a nutshell, that's what I am. Live clean, train hard, fight dirty. Don't let anyone take your lunch money. Whether you're a kid, schoolyard dominance is the most important thing. And if you're an adult, staying alive is the most important thing. And those are my passions in life. That's what I teach my students. That's it in a nutshell. Anti-bully, stay alive. Bing.
How do people find you? I know on Instagram, the Pitmaster.
Yeah, Pit_Master.
Pit_Master on Instagram.
Yeah, then Facebook, it's just the Pitmaster. And then that's about it.
You guys have a YouTube channel too, I think.
Yeah, the Pit Online Dojo.
The Pit Online Dojo. Guys, I know a lot of you guys follow me on Instagram. Definitely check it out. Like some of the stuff I was just joking about him with, I've seen him post short videos, and it's all super common sense stuff, like the little baton that he's playing with. But it's a lot of demystification of things that we are told are truth or is the way. So, John, I appreciate it, man. I look forward to maybe having some future conversations with you. You got a vacation coming up for your anniversary. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you. And then I'm actually right now, as soon as we get off this, I got to drive to Visalia, and I got one of my top students. He's been with me since he was 5 years old.
Awesome.
He's 20 now, and he's having his 5th MMA fight. So I'm going to go work his corner and wrap his hands and work his corner, and then I'm going to come back home and then get ready for Hawaii.
Fantastic. Well, good luck to your fighter tonight.
Thanks.
Travel safe, man. Get a hold of me if you need anything.
Thank you. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Visit our website, CarryTrainer.com, for information about classes held throughout the U.S., CarryTrainer apparel, and upcoming projects. You can also email us at training@CarryTrainer.com for information about setting up your own private course or speaking engagement. Training@CarryTrainer.com or CarryTrainer.com.